my view is they're just in sort of tread water mode
No, I'm
as an
with you 100%
organization.
on that. Sure.
And
And feels like a very treadwater move, by the way.
right. And again, that doesn't mean he can't come in and they can't win 85 games and,
Sure.
do whatever. I mean, it's certainly possible. It would have been possible under Baldelli too, in my opinion. But if this is just sort of a placeholder manager and it allows you, like we said earlier, to say, hey, we made a change. We gave you the sacrifice. The fan base got their manager fired. All the
Yeah.
Rocco hashtags, and the poll ads obviously pushed for it to some degree. And we can say, here's your head on a stick. It's Rocco Baldelli. Next guy through the door is going to be Rocco Baldelli's friend, who is his right hand man and who's been terrible in Pittsburgh. But
Right.
that's a separate issue. You can say we did make a change, so that I don't think it takes any pressure off. I mean, we heard about this
No.
for a lot of their
So
decision making lately, where people were like, they just did that to take some of the pressure off. And it's like we heard that about the sales process where they eventually pulled the team off the market. We
right.
heard that about Baldelli. We heard that about some other. Let me ask you this: has it worked? The fan base has never been
Right.
more fed up with this team ever.
Right.
So if that was their plan to let's just do this, let's put the team up for sale for 10 months, knowing we're going to pull it off the market because it takes the pressure off. Well, yeah, maybe there was a 4 month period where people weren't quite as mad, except you come out the other end of it and people are 10 times as mad. It's the same thing. Like it's they're not in a situation where anything they can do short of winning a bunch of games or having new ownership is going to meaningfully raise fan morale, in my opinion. And part of me thinks, well, yeah, this was an uninspired hiring. And Derek Shelton is certainly not a name that is going to get people excited. But I don't know that any of I mean, certainly none of the four candidates, the
Right.
finalists. I mean, James Rowson, I think would have been, to me at least, somewhat more exciting, but the vast majority of people have no clue who James Rowson is or get
Right.
excited about that. Scott Service, maybe has a little bit more name recognition and, like you said, a little bit more success with the Mariners in a much better situation, by the way. They spent twice as much money per year as the Pirates. Maybe he would have, but again, it wasn't like they were hiring, I don't know, Joe Madden or something.
Right.
That
Yeah.
service is
They're
just
not
sort of
bringing in
a
somebody with like a lot of managerial experience and
right.
success. Like that's the sort of thing that changes the narrative. And I'm not saying they need to change the narrative, right? Like
No.
the narrative is if they want to change the narrative, spend some effing money on this
Right.
team. They'll
I don't
change the
think
narrative. Like that's the way
like
you're going to
is
make
there a
money.
manager in your mind, and I'd have to think through this, but is there a manager, let alone an available manager? I'm just saying, is there a manager that would have, like, if Dave Roberts wins the world, it gets fired, loses the World Series and gets fired, and they immediately hire Dave Roberts. Like, yes, that's going to be more exciting than Derek Shelton, but I still think people are going to be like, "Good luck, Dave Roberts. This team stinks. I don't care. Ownership's terrible." Like, I don't think any managerial hire was going to do it, but I also think that the kind of two types we talked about that we would pursue are, and you were a little bit more on the side of not like a veteran manager with experience, but with a winning track record.
Sure, right.
And
Like a
I
Bob
was
Melvin or
yeah, somebody like that.
that's right.
And not a superstar, but a guy who's
Right.
been to the playoffs multiple times, won in multiple places, et cetera, et cetera. I was a little bit more on the side of, I don't care if they've managed before. I almost want someone similar to Baldelli 7 years ago, where it's like recently retired player, has worked coaching, front office, scouting, some combination of that, is viewed as kind of an up and comer with upside. And those guys flop, plenty.
Sure.
But I think they're in a situation where I would be shooting for the upside. And the upside can come on your side of it too, which is you bring in a guy who has his own way of doing things and has won in three different places, maybe has won a World Series, gotten to the, league championship.
It brings that perspective to the team over
Right.
on the side, right?
And
That's
that's
right.
a type of upside too, where it's like
Yes.
this guy knows what he's doing. He's proven it over decades and multiple stops in good environments and bad environments. You bring him in, and there's a downside of like, is this guy washed up? Is he too old? Has the game passed him by? Whatever. If you're talking about I don't know, Bruce Bochy or something like that. But there is upside of just like this guy's done it before a bunch of times. Like we're just
Yeah.
counting on him to do it again. I would shoot, and that is a type of upside for sure. I would shoot for the type of upside of like, this guy's never done it before, but everyone seems to think 5 years from now he's going to be viewed as a good manager. Now it's a coin flip, but there is upside with that. They have found a middle ground here that checks neither box,
Yeah.
which is you have a retread manager who's 55 years old, has had no success as a manager, which there's no, kind of upside to lean on in terms of, well, he's done it before. And also
And
the
6 years
Pirates
ago, 6
tenure,
years ago, he was maybe the guy that you're looking for, right?
maybe, yeah,
Maybe, right? But I mean, somebody like Flaherty would have checked that
right,
box for you of
right.
the four guys.
Ryan Flaherty, who I'm expecting him to get a managing job at this
Yeah.
point, I think. Um,
Towards your point though on this placeholder thing,
mhm.
how often is it that you know, the assistant coaching staff, which has also been under fire now for two solid years, basically outlasts their manager? That's part of what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
What kind of like this management team is
Well, we don't know
so.
that, first of all.
Well, first of all, we don't know that, right?
I mean, I
But
can tell you, I don't think Jace Tingler is going to be back.
no, I agree with that. And by the way,
Um,
I want to talk about that. By the way, because I think one of the more interesting things that's going to be is who Shelton's bench coach is. And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.